In the city of Fuuto, a man transforms into a hybrid fighter who engages with an entire army of assassins, all by himself in an intense battle. Now a detective named Shoutarou Hidari introduces himself in dramatic fashion, but is immediately rebuked by his colleague Akiko Narumi, who orders him to get to work in the funniest way possible. At that moment, Shoutarou comes across a very attractive woman named Tokime. He is tempted at first, but he does his best to resist her when she asks him if he can satisfy her, as she's very hungry. However, when he turns around, he is shocked to see that she has vanished into thin air. Now we see Shoutarou in the Narumi Detective Agency, where Akiko is fiercely berating him for his inconsistent work. They are interrupted when a client named Chuta Tsubosaki nervously enters the office. He says that he wants the detectives to look for a witch, much to their collective surprise. In a flashback, we see that he had run into Tokime when he had just come to the city. He offered to help her, but she took his bag and ran away after claiming to be a witch. Chuta also mentions that he chased after her but was unable to catch up as she could move swiftly in the air. Shoutarou identifies this witch as the same woman he recently met, and then he also realizes that Chuta didn't go to the cops because he wants to meet Tokime again as he has fallen in love with her. Akiko is surprised to hear this, but Chuta admits that he doesn't even want the money back. Despite the oddness of the case, Shoutarou accepts the job. Later, he tells Akiko that he escaped the witch's charm, but she mocks him by saying he was spared because he has no money. Shotaro's partner Philip expresses an interest in the case, but Shoutarou says that he'll handle this by himself. Then he gets on his bike and rides through Fuuto to look for Tokime. After a long search, one of Shotaro's informants tells him about a witch in the T-junction area. Later, they run into Tokime, but the informant blows their cover, so she flies away. Shoutarou gives chase on his bike and a hectic sequence follows. He eventually catches up to her, and then she reveals her name. Shoutarou asks her to return the bag she stole from Chuta, but she mocks him and runs away after landing a kick on his stomach. Shoutarou chases after her but is suddenly transported to a shadow version of Fuuto, after which he strangely ends up inside a building owned by a local gangster named Tachikawa. His cop friends Jin and Maki are called to the scene, but Tachikawa also agrees that the witch is causing problems for him, as she had seemingly killed one of his goons. Now Shoutarou, Jin, and Maki discuss the witch case, and we learn that lots of chopped up bodies have started showing up on the streets. Shoutarou informs Chuta about this, but he still wants to meet Tokime as he is completely infatuated with her. The agency decides to keep this case a secret, and then we learn that Akiko is married to a cop named Ryu Terui. Chuta starts to lose faith in Shoutarou, but then he gets a call from Philip suggesting Tokime is using a memory, which is basically a kind of magic activator found in small containers. Now Shotaro's employee Lily tells Chuta that memories are sold discreetly in the city as part of the black market. After some inspection, Shoutarou realizes that Tokime is quite well groomed despite not having any legal residence. So he locates her at a fountain after asking some homeless people. Chuta asks Tokime to give him his bag back, but she runs away, and the men find themselves in the Shadow City as they chase after her. However, they are suddenly attacked by a monster, and Shoutarou is about to be killed, but then Philip drops by to save him. They decide to join forces now that they realize what they're dealing with. The monster runs away, and then Tokime shows herself to the men. She questions Philip for a bit, but then she vanishes and the team is brought back to the real world. They meet Tachikawa and tell him about what they saw, but his subordinate SABOO doesn't believe them. Tachikawa maintains that he wants to burn the witch, and then we learn about Gaia Memories. These devices can turn humans into monsters, known as Dopants, and are still being sold even though the organization that made them is no longer around. Chuta wants to stop with the investigation, but Shoutarou asks him to allow some more time as his pride is at stake. Then he asks Philip to run a search, and after a detailed breakdown, they learn that the memory in use is called Road. That's when Philip reveals that the Shadow City is made from biological materials that need to be replenished by human matter. It leads the team to suspect that Tokime might be a cannibal. Later, another road victim shows up, and the detectives are convinced that the person responsible for these crimes is a road dopant. Philip believes that Tokime is the dopant, stating that she has reached her limit and is now using humans to satisfy her cravings. Shoutarou decides to search for some more clues, but to no avail. As he lies exhausted from his efforts, he meets a middle school colleague Akira. They have a little chat, and then Akira's friend Takahashi brings in some information regarding the rumors surrounding the witch. Akira gives the intel to Shoutarou and leaves with her after that. Shoutarou goes through the rumors and learns that Tokime was spotted near a flowering dogwood. He goes to the largest dogwood tree, which also happens to be near another Tachikawa property. Once he reaches, he is puzzled to find Shuta, and they argue for a bit before they are attacked by the road Dopant. Shoutarou suspects the monster to be Tokime, but it doesn't respond to him. He uses a special device to transport him and Shuta to safety from the attack, and then they are greeted by Tokime. However, she acts clueless when she's called a Dopant and goes away to take a bath. Later, Shoutarou meets Philip, who suspects he's hiding something from him, as he started to develop some feelings for Tokime. This leads to a slight argument, and then Shoutarou takes off on his bike. He meets Tokime at the fountain again and asks her whether she really is the one causing all this chaos. However, she expresses her own confusion and asks Shoutarou to help her discover who she truly is. He believes that she has amnesia, and then he spots her memory, but it seems to be broken. Suddenly, Tachikawa arrives with his men and they are about to kill Tokime, but Shoutarou stops them. He points out that her memory is damaged, so she can't be the murderous witch thereafter. He even goes on to accuse one of Tachikawa's men to be the culprit, and to everyone's surprise, SABOO attacks his boss and transforms into the road Dopant with his memory. He attacks the goons and sets his high sights on Tokime, so Shoutarou asks her to run while he keeps the monster busy. Luckily for him, Philip and Akiko arrive in the nick of time to hold off the Dopant. Now the detectives activate their cyclone and Joker memories to transform into Kamen Rider W. An intense battle breaks out between the Dopant and Kamen Rider, while Akiko explains to Tokime that Philip's memories and soul become one with Shoutarou in order for the transformation to happen. Kamen Rider dominates the battle, and then SABOO unleashes all his powers and tries to escape by using Tokime as a hostage. Luckily for her, Kamen Rider uses his elastic arm to trick SABOO and goes on to beat him up some more. The Dopant tries to escape into Shadow Fuuto by opening up a dimensional portal, but the duo follows him inside using their hybrid bike. An intense chase scene follows, and then Kamen Rider executes his finisher move, Joker Extreme, that defeats SABOO for good and destroys his memory. Back to the normal city, Tachikawa and his men are apprehended by the cops, but Shoutarou suspects that there's one more culprit behind this incident, and he identifies him as Chuta. He exposes him by revealing his toadstool, which is a Gaia memory for poisonous mushrooms. Then we learn that Chuta was first tempted by a dealer to purchase toadstool, but when he came back for more, his memory was stolen by Tokime, and that was why he went to the detectives instead of the cops. Philip also states that Tokime was able to travel through the road dimensions, which was why she was suspiciously spotted at the crime scenes. After deciphering Tokime's power illusions, Shoutarou reveals that he suspected Chuta after Tachikawa showed up to the fountain so quickly, while also mentioning the bag. With nowhere left to run, Chuta finally confesses to working with a gangster and tries to activate his memory, but Shoutarou stops him in time, after which he hands him over to the cops. Now Shoutarou tells Tokime that she has to go to the station to answer for her thefts, but also compliments her for her good nature. She calls him a half-boiled egg for being so naive, but also kisses him, much to Akiko's and Philip's surprise. Shoutarou looks on in shock as she heads to the police station with Jin and Maki. Later, Kamen Rider takes down another Dopant, but then Tokime shows up. Shoutarou goes mad when he learns that Akiko has made her his new assistant, so he confronts her about it, but she reveals that it was Terui's idea. Philip decides to analyze Tokime's broken memory, so Shoutarou agrees to have her here in order to help her deal with her amnesia. However, things get awkward when Tokime goes to his house and decides to share his bed. Shoutarou refuses to do so and goes back to the agency, much to Akiko's amusement. However, Philip agrees that this is the right thing to do, as he can sense a darkness in Tokime. He also points out that Shoutarou is attracted to femme fatales, and then he tries to figure out what drove the road Dopant to cannibalism. Now we see a man in Shadow Fuuto activating his Aurora memory. That's when we learn that he is searching for Tokime, who actually belongs here. And that's the end of part 1. Like, share, and subscribe if you want me to cover part 2 as well. Also hit the bell icon while you're at it, so you can be notified when it's up. Okay then, see you soon!